In my opinion, it's not realistic. Many of these deadlines that are being set, whether it's the 2014 deadline or the July 2011 deadline that President Obama set about a year ago regarding the beginning of a scale down in U.S. troops, I think many of these are politically motivated to fit a political calendar. They're counterproductive, particularly in a place like Afghanistan. What happens is that by setting these deadlines, once again, you incentivize the insurgents to hold out, and to a large extent is what happens is that you disincentivize ordinary Afghans from wanting to collaborate and participate with the international mission, knowing that if they do so, they will be targeted once Western troops do withdraw.
But it seems like NATO's members are between a rock and a hard place. I was reading about cuts in defense that they're facing, waning public support. I just wanted to remind the viewers what we're talking about. The U.S. recently announcing that it's making cuts of about $100 billion to defense spending over the past 5 years. Britain saying it's cutting 8% of its defense budget over 4 years. Germany, 6% cut over 4 years. France making defense cuts that will save $4 billion by 2013. How can they balance the fact that their public wants their countries and their troops out, and they're cutting defense spending with the needs of Afghanistan?
There's two key factors here. Factor number one, in my opinion, is that from 2001 up until about the end of 2008, the mission was very inefficient. There was a lot of neglect. And now all those 7, 8 years of poor, inefficient performance is now starting to come to start. It's like basically it's coming back to haunt the mission. So a lot of it has to do with inefficiency from the very beginning. There's been a serious attempt, I would say, within the last year to try to change that. It may be too late. It may not. It's still too early to tell. Secondly, is the fact that a lot of that spending that's been taking place in recent years, particularly on the European side, I would say there's a lot of overlapping. There's a lot of waste. It's a process that needs to be streamlined. So when you talk about drawing back and cutting down these budgets, the reason why is you have to make them more efficient. You have to prevent overlapping. You have to make it more transparent, the process of procurement. For example, the UK and France, I think, are taking the lead in Europe. UK and France account for more than 50% of European defense spending. Recently, they signed an agreement between both governments to streamline, to integrate, particularly with aircraft carriers, which are very costly. That's an example.
And in addition to everything they need to do in Afghanistan, they have an evolving, dangerous terrorist threat, a new threat that NATO has not faced before when it's talked about long-term strategy. How does it need to change in order to be able to balance the needs in Afghanistan and also those new security threats?
Yeah, once again, I would use that word is to prevent overlapping, is streamlining, better cooperation, coordination in purchase of weaponry. In terms of training, once again, the security threats are not only overwhelming, they're going to increase over time. And if the economic realities dictate that you can only spend so much, so with that bit of money that you do have to spend, you have to make it as efficient as possible.